Hey guys, Monday night, and we are going to do we are going to have an amazing night tonight because our subject is just it's gonna blow my mind. I hope it blows your mind too. Tonight we are going to be talking about the subject of loving soulfully. It's part 3 of our relationship conversation. Let me read to you a little bit about what today's about. The key to love that never hurts, never betrays, and never dies. That is what part of what loving soulfully is. What if you can create a new paradigm of love, one that is inspired and healing, one that resolves and heals rather than reminds us of the past, bringing up old wounds? We've all had those kinds of relationships. Something happens and we're reminded of old wounds. But what if we could have a different type of relationship? So let's talk about love and relationships in a way that powerfully actually builds on success. Let's talk about love and relationships so that our disappointments inspire us to keep going strong, keep living fully, and keep loving soulfully. I'm going to bring on 2 amazing friends, the author of Loving Soulfully, Rohit, Juneja, and Meshell Zwecker, who's not the author, but also an amazing person. How you guys doing?
Great.
How's
Good to be here.
I love it. I love it. I know we're going to have Deanna is going to be here in a few minutes, but Rohit, what I love about your book, I love the title, Loving Soulfully. I mean, that's just a very, very powerful title. And even more so, kind of like the subheading, the key to love that never hurts, never betrays, and never dies. You say so many amazing things when you talk about loving soulfully. What inspired you to write the book?
Pain. Heartbreak, loss, sorrow. What's the way out of this? How do I, what does it mean? Why does this keep happening to me? How can this, there has to be something more to it than I've understood up till now. What is that understanding? Curiosity, absolute openness to a new understanding, and calling out, God help me, like, who are you? Who's out there? Who knows what the meaning of love is? I love that song. I want to know what love is. I want you to show me. I don't know if you heard it before.
Yeah. No, I know that song.
Yeah.
Hey. Yeah. So I definitely can relate to that because after being married for 21 years, going to get divorced now. Before we're going to make 22 years being married, but we'll be going through divorce at that time. And I think I often think like where do we go wrong? Like what happened?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pain in there and there's a lot of stuff that goes on, but I don't have any answers. I have no answers at all.
Yeah, what goes wrong? There have been so many books written on that subject. It's almost like almost impossible or redundant to really encapsulate it in one little talk.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what essentially goes wrong is our expectations are wrong. What we expect out of a partner is wrong. Our method of loving is off the charts. And that's a whole thing I can get into if you want, but
well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about what your feeling is about that. And Meshell and Deanna, by all means, jump in at any time.
Yeah, no, I really would love for you to lay the foundation of this idea, Rohit. I think that would be something to work with.
See, the foundation, I believe, started about 200-300 years ago when we were given the idea of romantic.
We're just going to go all the way back there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's where it begins, the mythology.
I don't remember that.
You weren't around. Come on, there were these incredible books that came out. There were these authors. They were so charismatic. Everybody bought into it. We all, as a worldwide tribe, fell for the idea that there was going to be romance, and then courtly love happened, and we just pined for people. And even if they didn't give a damn if they were married or anything, but it's just like that's how it was. Anyways, it came down into our present day time. And we've been brought up on stories of Snow White and Cinderella and, all of that stuff. And we think Prince Charming is going to come and save us and all our problems are going to be over. And ultimately, we're going to live happily ever after. And I'd love to find someone who has lived that fairy tale, because for most people, there may be one or two here, there are exceptions. But for most people, it's anything but that. And the disappointment comes in because our expectations from our partner are something so out there, that no one lives up to it. And that's the beginning of the problem, really. I think the heart of the problem.
So the heart of the problem is the expectation that we have and the narrative we're living into, or the story that we're living into.
Right.
Which is a false story. It doesn't really exist.
Right. Exactly.
So no place to go but down.
Yeah. It was a really good idea.
It's disappointed, right? It's just,
you see, what happens is when you put someone on a pedestal, it's just a matter of time before you knock them off, or they fall off that. You know, this idealization of love, of the person. We all look for the ideal partner, and therein is the problem. Don't look for your soulmate, for God's sake. Don't look for your soulmate. You try to find this ideal person. Firstly, there's 7 billion people on the planet. Now you're going to start trying to look for them. That's going to be an impossible task. If you find them and if you screw it up, now you're like Martine, 21 years. I've been 7 years and not 21. But, broken. Once that person is gone, like, is there anyone else? Like, do you feel like there's no hope to find someone else? And if you do begin, then you go through this funny process of thinking this is the one, and then seeing it isn't working, and then you think this is the one, and then this is the one, and then finally you end up like, well, what is the one? And we're starting on the wrong foot. That's all I'm trying to say. I'd love to hear you guys.
To me, it's also I'm going to use myself as an example, and then happy to have it dissected if you guys like. For me, it wasn't so much like looking for a one. It was just not, I was in a situation where the things that were happening I just wasn't cool with,
That's
like I wasn't cool with the way my experience of being married. And not that, my wife's not great. It's just my own personal experience, my own personal struggles.
Yeah, I was talking about what happens in the beginning. So you're talking of the middle and the end. So go ahead. What happened?
So the beginning's great. Let's talk about the beginning. The beginning's great.
Yeah.
You meet, you go dancing, and you're making dinner at home and going out to dinner and going for long walks and all the fun stuff.
Yeah. So that's where you're being your best, you're putting in your best, and you're seeing them at their best. Right? That's the idealization phase.
Yeah. Well, it's the we're still trying to catch. So we're probably putting our best foot forward, because what we want to be able to catch that person, right?
Right. We want to get that. Yeah, we want to get them to our life.
Catch them. Get them.
Catch up.
Get them. That's how I look at it. Catch them. Yeah.
Yeah. And once you got ketchup all over your face, now what happens?
Now what do you do? But then it's like funny. Like I remember, when I first met, like I had this little apartment. It's a really cool little apartment, like by the beach. And I just remember like stupid little things, like I have to go to the bathroom, like I'd put the music really loud, just like little things to try to be perfect. After a while, you don't care, it's just like things change, and like it's like all the little I don't know what are those? They're like little.
Well, you got
like little fake. What's that?
You got real.
Get real, yeah.
You got real.
Exactly.
I can't.
Are you going to keep popping in and popping out?
Their audio, it seems like.
She's not able to hear us.
She can hear you, Rohit, apparently, but maybe not Martine or I.
I can only hear Rohit. Let me. Okay.
Nothing.
Yeah.
You can't hear anybody?
Well, I'm not saying anything. So
yeah, check. Nothing. Let me go listen on Let me go listen to see if you
check
can even hear me.
Mic is not muted at the bottom of your screen.
I don't know what it is.
Bottom of your screen, there's a mute button.
She said she can't hear anybody now.
And the other option might be that the microphone is the wrong microphone. Click on the bottom where
I can hear my mic on. I can hear my mic on.
Click on the bottom where it says cam/mic. Deanna?
She can't hear you, Rohit.
No wonder.
That's her problem. She can't hear anybody.
I wish I knew sign language.
Okay.
Sign language. Yes.
That's right.
Darn it. I don't know that.
Well, let's keep going, and hopefully it gets it worked out. Let's just kind of like let her play around until hopefully it works out.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Good.
So we have the honeymoon stage. We have the kind of like, let's kind of fake how we are. Let's not be real. Let's act like, we don't poop and we don't fart and we don't, burp and all those things, right?
Right.
We're
We
not
don't like to
human
veg out in
beings.
front of the TV, and we don't like to complain and moan, and we don't like to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
And honestly, there is something very important about all that happening. The second phase. The second phase reveals the flaws. It reveals all the imperfections in the person. And to me, that's the most important phase, not the first one. The first one is just sort of like fuel for the fire, just kind of gets you going.
Yeah.
But the second phase is the most important. That's when you're now overly, because you're compensating for your initial misconceptions, you're now becoming hyper aware of the flaws. And then that hyper awareness of the flaws is now going to cause one of two things to happen. You're either going to lose it, as in break up, or you're going to come to the third stage, which is the stage of acceptance or tolerance, or just, like, hell, now I'm stuck. I'm married. I'm just going to, go through with this thing. You could go there, or you could go. I mean, the ideal stage would be at this point a true acceptance of each other as you are with all your flaws. My point to you would be, we need to start from there. We need to start from the fact that even though my mind is wanting to idealize this person because I was brainwashed as a kid, and I tend to think in terms of, I'm going to find the one. So it's hard to get rid of that brainwashing, but I need to start off knowing I am going to uncover a lot of flaws, and they're in me and they're in this person I'm now dating. And when I come across them, I have to practice learning how to accept them as they are, because that's what's going. So then you don't have this sudden rude awakening. You don't go from an entire period of whatever 2 to 6 months to a year of idealization, and then this rude hit of, oh my God, they're nothing like I thought they were, and I'm bailing. I'm getting out of here, right?
So that's in phase 3.
Well, phase 3 would be you're bailing, or you're just tolerating, or
in phase 2 is kind of like so in phase 2 you also notice your own flaws. Maybe I would imagine you notice like where you're kind of pushing a little bit too much, or maybe you're uncomfortable.
No, Martin, what typically happens is they notice your flaws, you notice their flaws, and both of you are now bitching about each other.
Okay, that's in 2. Phase 2
more likely.
Okay. So when do you start, like, what I mean, like, it's like, people will get together with someone and then only hang out for a little while and then go, you know what, it just move on. Like, people fall in love and then move on. Is that in phase 2?
Yeah. Because now now the mask is off.
Yeah.
Now you see the real person, and then at that point is where people bail. And we're shocked, and then we blame it on love. Then we say, people have hurt. You either blame the other person or you blame love. We get into this whole blame game now. And our disappointment, our hurt turns into resentment. And then we sort of become jaded, and we become skeptical, and we think there's nothing like real love, and I just need to settle for something. Really sad state of affairs when it happens.
I just need a warm body.
Right.
That's right.
Paycheck.
Just go to the bar and find out who I meet, and I'll bring them home.
Right.
That sounds awful.
I know.
Well, exactly. We're talking about that. Yeah, exactly. Right.
And I was just meeting.
What do you think, Meshell?
What do I think?
Yeah. What do you got to say about all this? How does this go for you?
Well, I have always enjoyed Rohit's perspective on this. And I feel like I actually came to this conversation to learn something rather than.
That's great. That's great. So,
yeah, no, really, because, I would say, I mean, I love the idea of loving soulfully. I understand this notion of this romantic notion that got installed, and then everybody's sort of looking for an experience that's unrealistic. I don't know, in all honesty. I mean, of course, I've lived and was shaped by the same culture as everybody else. So to some degree, that's true for me too. Although it's never really felt like that's been the biggest issue. Although I do relate to not finding tolerance or acceptance at a certain point. It's like whoever this person is really. This is after. So I was married for 18 years, and it was a great relationship, and then it got a little dull, and he, decided to end the marriage. I don't know where we would be today if that didn't happen. We definitely had some things to get through. We had a phase to get through, that's for sure, a phase like you're talking about. And then I would say ever since, all of my adult life of dating others has always been just like this feeling of, I just can't quite get myself to the place where I could say, I could take it to stage 3. It's not like it's about their shortcomings, but it's about the limitation of the way I feel. Like I can't seem to love you enough to be able to accept you wholly as you are. Like I just can't seem to quite get there. So that's why
thanks for being so honest about that.
Yeah.
So the thing that you would like to learn about is about that, about like what's the barrier or what's the thing there?
Whatever you got, I don't have any specific requirements.
Yeah, I got nothing. I got nothing.
Martina and I are here going, please, Yoda, tell Grasshopper how to love.
Exactly. Well, for me, I find if I approach things through curiosity, then I really can hear what's being said, and then it's kind of like when you have conversations with somebody. If you're really having a real conversation with somebody, you just build on it, and then it reminds you of, okay, what is it that I want to, what is it that I really want to learn? And I just trust in the universe that I'm in the right place. I just always trust that. That's right. And it always seems to deliver. It doesn't always deliver for me necessarily, but then I get people that'll call me and say, "Oh, it was really great when you said this or they said this. Thanks for thanks for having Meshell, because when she said that, I just felt like it really spoke to me and I could really start to listen differently." You know what I mean? And that's what I trust. And so when we first started on the relationship, we did 3. This is the third part of it. The first part was, how do we relate to ourselves? And in that conversation, we kept tapping into other people. We kept using other people to talk about ourselves. That's a real tough thing to do, because I don't know, maybe we're, that I think is a version of a narcissistic conversation, but I think it's an important conversation to have, because we've got to look at ourselves. The second one was like, how do we relate to others? And then this one right here, it was, about marriage and actual relationships. And then we were talking in the last, we said, what I think the best thing would be is to do Loving Soulfully. I think that's the best. I think that's the next step. And when it comes to that conversation, I always pick up the phone and call Rohit. Hey, I've got some challenges, and then he's got some great wisdom. And I would say that it's always delivered. It's always delivered for me. So I'm really interested in building and understanding, and then adding to what Rohit has to say. And so what we said, the first part was there's a phase 1, and then there's the, which is the love and the romance and all that. And then the phase 2, which is we actually start to notice the flaws in the other person. Mm-hmm. And then what's phase 3 again? Let's go to phase 3. I think you said a little bit of it.
Phase 3 is the place where you either come to acceptance or you come to settling for whatever that person is and tolerating them, or you leave. It's usually one of these 3 things that and there might be some more, but that's just what it comes to the top of my mind.
There's not a phase 4?
Oh yeah, there is. But you see, the phase 3, if you come to it from a place, so if you come to phase 3 from a place of tolerating that person, like, okay, now we're married, now we've got 2 kids, and now I'm starting to see all your flaws, and finally, the mask is off and I can see who you really are. Okay, you just do your thing, I'll do mine. We'll just kind of, sleep in different bedrooms, or we'll kind of like have sex once a week or something like that. And, we just make it very mechanical. That mechanicalness that comes about is in my opinion, is about when people have kind of shut down internally. That excitement is not there. That sense of magic is no longer there. Now, to keep that magic alive is really the topic of this conversation. That's where I would like to go. When I talk of love,
yeah, absolutely. Because I think everybody's
I'm writing notes.
Everybody's interested in that. You got to turn your volume up just a little bit, Deanna, if you can, if there's a way.
Oh.
So the first question I wanted to begin was with, what is love? Because this is where I began my search. And I have to tell you, I've been exactly in the shoes of every single person on this planet, as in I didn't know. I've been an utter failure all my life, and I continue to fail. So I'm not trying to tell you that I have the magic bullet and it all works out, because you know what? It's going to take one person, it's going to take another person, and it's going to take both being able to do the dance. So I got to talk about this. Hopefully.
Okay. So what is love? Let's go there.
Yeah.
Real quick, I want to just acknowledge a couple people. Acknowledge that that Jack Cohen's here and Veronica Gore is here. And thank you very much. If you're listening, please make a comment so we know who you are. Appreciate it. And Jack said, what role does trust play in a relationship?
Yeah.
We can get to that later. I just wanted to have that out there. So, yeah.
I would like to start with one thing. The question is, what is love?
Yes.
And so far, what love has been a mental construct. We've had a certain idea of what love looks like, what it should be. We've got a list of qualities that we want to see in a person who we love, and we have ideas that this is how they should behave and this is how they should not behave. That's a mental construct. Now, as long as love is we think of love as a mental construct, then we are playing at the level of the ego. And as long as you're playing at the level of the ego, you're going to be subject to all of its machinations, which means just the way that it judges you, it's going to judge your partner. Just the way as it puts you on a sort of treadmill of doing more and more and more, you're going to put your partner on a treadmill of doing more and more and more, and never being truly satisfied or grateful or appreciative of what they're doing. You might be a little bit here and there, but you're playing the game at the realm of the ego. And love, in my opinion, from what I learned in writing this book, because when I wrote this book, I did not know. I was in a place of complete and utter confusion. And I said, God, Spirit, wherever you are, please help me. And I have developed this ability over the years to listen to this inner voice, which I believe all of us have. And I believe all of us can listen to that voice and get the guidance we need to be able to find our answers. But anyway, this was my exploration. And what I understood was this.
Let me kind of just, so what you're saying is that there's this version of love that's kind of this mechanical version of love, right? And then you're saying there's a mental construct. So it's like, it's just a concept. There's like love as a concept that we want to. Okay, got that. And you
We're
said
trying to
something
make
else.
the other person fit into this box, this idea that we have.
So then we project onto other people.
And they disappoint us because they don't match our ideas, and they have their ideas and we don't match their ideas. And now we're disappointing each other. And as a result, we are feeling more and more resentful and angry, and we're shutting down in our hearts more and more. I'm just talking typical. I'm not saying this is everybody. Yeah. I'm sure there's a few people out there who escape this trap, but this has been my experience, and I've seen it happen to a lot of people as well. So the question now is, we've been looking for a perfect person, and every time we meet someone, we think this is the one. What if, and we think there's no other like this one, and we think that, this is it. And then we realize this is not it. And then we come to another person, we think this is it. And then it's ridiculous. So when I asked the question, what is love? The answer I got was, the one you seek, that ideal being, that ideal relationship, that ideal love that you seek, is the source of all. What you are seeking actually is the divine. You're seeking God. Now, of course, you can't see God. But we want to get to the heart of what love is. And so love, as I began to understand it in writing this book, Loving Soulfully, is an energy. An energy.
Go back and say that what you said, because I think I want to interrupt you, because what you said is so powerful, and I don't want to go over that, because you say stuff to me that's really worth repeating. The one you seek is the one
The source of all.
Source of all. So again, read my writing. So one you seek is the source of all. Okay, I know you're going to get to that. I just want to be real, like, on top of that.
Typically, when we fall in love, we have let down our preconditions of what we're looking for. We have let down we've checked all the boxes that we've got there, and now we open our heart to this person. And once we open our heart, love begins to flow through us to them and from them to us, provided it's happened on both sides, right? So now this beautiful energy is coming in, and it's exhilarating, it's ecstatic, it's so incredible. And now the ego becomes afraid. It doesn't want to lose this thing, so it wants to hold on. So it starts to name the person. You're my girlfriend, you're my boyfriend, right? It wants to eventually say we'll get married and we'll live happily ever after. It wants to now get its claws on this person because it wants to create safety and security. This person should not leave, right? So we found the ideal person. We want to make sure they don't leave, and we do everything we can to hold on to that person. And herein is born another set of problems. But let's not talk about the problems. Let's talk about the solutions. The solution lies in beginning to see that love is an energy that is flowing through us. How can we keep it alive and vibrant? That's really at the heart of the matter. And to understand that requires a deep inner dive. We all have this energy in us. And that's why the book begins with self-love. We have this energy in us, and to learn how to keep this alive inside ourselves is very important before you can keep it alive in a relationship. That's why self-love is so vital to a relationship.
So what I hear you saying, okay, so let me kind of go back. So you talked about like that there's a flow of love, the flow of love. So I have a flow of love from me to Meshell. I adore Meshell. I know she loves me back. That flow of love has never stopped, right? I just know, and that's great. We got that. Okay. Then there's a relationship that we actually have. And in that relationship, there becomes expectations, projections, and all those things. That flow of love then somehow slows down. It stops. It doesn't come back the way I need it to come back. All that, right?
Right.
So what I hear you saying is that the first thing is to I don't know if you're saying this. I'm questioning. I'm asking you if this is what you're saying. That we need to master the flow, having a flow of love here.
Yeah. And you also need to learn how to keep it alive inside here. Because look,
that's what I mean. Here, keep it.
Let me come back to self-love for a second. In yourself, you may experience moments of feeling a love for yourself. But then comes your critical mind and it says, hey, you did this wrong. You're such a jerk. What's wrong with you? And now it tears you apart and you start doubting yourself and feeling really horrible. Now, I want to ask you this. If this is how you treated your kid, 1 minute you say, I love you, and the next minute you smack them all over the face, and say, you stupid piece of whatever.
Yeah.
Is that loving your kid? Would you accept that treatment?
I wouldn't consider that an expression of love. I certainly wouldn't do that.
But some people do. They say, because I love you is why I do this to you. That's the old
school,
My parents' time. Well, we do that because we love you.
If I didn't love you, I wouldn't do that. Yeah.
Right. And today's time, we say, no, that's not how you treat someone you love. But that's how we treat ourselves. We talk of self-love, but on the other hand, we have self-hate, and these two clash with each other. So when I'm talking about keeping that channel of love open, we have to be able to stop the ego in its game of criticism and judgment towards ourselves first. Okay? Mistakes are allowed, are welcome. We're going to learn from them, no worries. And we need to create a space in here for our flaws, because we have them and we always will. There's no time that your flaws are going to go away. They might get better, but they're going to be there. So
keeping a space of non-judgment and allowing for, like, how my version of saying what you're saying is keeping the space of non-judgment, acceptance here.
Yes.
And then this is really interesting, the way you say it, because the way you describe things, I actually can visualize them. It's really cool. Nice. Versus a concept that I'm like, I'm trying out like idea or something.
Okay.
So you manage your criticisms, your blames, your judgments, all those things that happen here. Put them in perspective, I would say, like, okay, that's just a judgment. I don't really need that, or you learn to work with those different things. And then and that's how you keep the flow. It's kind of like the calcium going through a pipe. If you don't clean the pipes, calcium's going to build and you're not going to have the same flow.
Very beautiful way of putting it. Yes.
Okay.
And
every time I talk about plumbing, people say that's beautiful all the time. How's your plumbing over there, Meshell?
And
so do you feel, Rohit, you're talking about unconditional love?
Truly, yes. The cultivation of unconditional love.
Yeah. Because that's always felt to me like such a high ideal. Like that's the ultimate.
Yeah. And Meshell, I'll tell you, unconditional love is impossible.
Right. That's why I say
it's difficult.
Let's hear what she has to say about that before we go. I'd like to hear what she says. Keep going, Meshell. I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, it just, so, listening to these foundational ideas, I love this idea of being able to sustain experience of love that is solid for myself first. And that's been a lifelong journey. And I definitely feel like I'm gaining on it. And I can imagine that the more I can really love myself, accept myself, the whole as is conversation that we were having in a previous show, that develops a range for me to do that in relationship with others. And I definitely feel that in general. Now, raise the bar, now a romantic partnership, where it's definitely the ante's up. The idea of unconditional love just feels like so far outside of my ability. I'm a human being. I don't know how to stop. I understand that I can disrupt the mind and I can question the mind and I can, tell it when I've heard enough and all that. And yet judgments feel like just part of the human condition.
It is. You're very right. You're 100% correct. And I will tell you right now, it is impossible to stop the judgment. Let's begin from there.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we have.
Are you saying stop complete? I don't know that I agree with you that you can, I think you can slow them down.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But stop is what you said stop.
I'd like to distinguish that because, I like to give people hope. Including myself.
But I'm going to hope. Give me a second. I'm going to hope. What I'm saying is it's impossible to stop your mind from judging because that's what it does.
But it does.
It is.
It's dualistic in nature. It sees some good positive things. It sees some negative things. It's constantly doing this. Mm-hmm. I'm saying to you that there's another part of you that is non-dualistic in nature. It knows how to love. Pardon?
Is it the soul?
That's right. It's this other part of you knows how to love unconditionally. And these two live in the same house.
They do, don't they?
Right? And the one that is judgmental will always be judgmental. The one that is non-judgmental, your soul, is fully capable of being there. Now you're going to have to learn to balance things between these two.
Yeah.
That's the whole game in this.
Yeah, there you go. That's a nice simple picture,
Yeah, the thing I love about this is that the act of doing those things is an act of self-love.
Yes.
Like the act of not being so judgmental is an act of self-love. Mm-hmm. The act of not criticizing or blaming people really creates peace inside yourself. Probably more so out there because most of the judgments and the blames and the complaints are happening here. And they don't get said. Mm-hmm. So, maybe we say a few of them a day. And so people are like, oh, Martine's just a jerk, whatever. Well, yeah, you didn't hear all the stuff I really had to say, But if I can slow that down,
yeah,
if I can slow that down over here, then my experience of my own life is going to be more profound.
It will. To the degree that you're able to slow it down is to the degree you will keep the flow of love alive. You will feel a love. I'll tell you this, not only is it with another person, not only is it with yourself, but also with your friends, with your pets, with nature, with life. When you look at anything in life, if you have managed to slow down the level of criticism and judgment in your own mind, you will find a greater level of acceptance of people and things and situations as they are. It's something that we all need in our present time when everybody's getting so polarized and getting so opinionated against each other. We need to realize one of the key things, the reasons we're getting there is we've been taught to have opinions about things, to judge other people's thoughts and opinions and somehow try to defend our own. I'm telling you that this is about defenseless love. This is about love where you drop the armor and you walk into the fire, and that person says, "You're a piece of crap. You did this and that and the other." And you say, "Yes, I am a piece of crap, and I love you anyway."
It's the Brene Brown, the vulnerability, the not having to defend anything. There's a couple of questions that Jack asked, and I'm going to see if everybody wants to take a chime at it.
Can an agnostic find love if they don't believe in God?
Absolutely.
Great question.
The very search for love is a search for God. You see, your definition of God is about somebody out there, but love is in here. God is what you're calling God is actually in here. It's an energy. If you start to feel it as an energy, as a presence, so when you quiet your mind, you feel that there's a presence in you that is beautiful. Anyone who's practiced meditation would have known this. That presence is God. That presence exists in nature. When you go to nature, the beach, it feels so beautiful. Why? You go to your pet, feels beautiful. Why? When you fall in love, why is it so beautiful? Because you're feeling the presence of that energy of God. You are in the presence of God. That's what it means. So
Deanna, I want to hear what
you can be an agnostic. It doesn't matter.
Sure.
Your glass of wine is the presence of God. Your glass of your wonderful meal you're having is the presence of God.
I got it.
Right?
Cool.
There's nowhere that God does not exist.
Deanna, what's your take on that question? How would you respond to that question?
The question specifically, well, everyone's going to put their religious beliefs to that, whether it's spiritual or religious. I think people get that a little intertwined sometimes.
That's okay. Right? That's okay.
And I was raised in a very strict Christian home, and my parents were very traditional. And so, there was a constant belief system that was being created by what I saw from that. And there was a lot of judgment that would get in the way of love and Christian love. I mean, it was pretty constant, where I remember being even 8 and 10 years old and questioning, well, if that's love, that doesn't seem like a very nice God, right? So, there was a lot for me to undo as a young adult and to pull back from. And I have now reached a place where I do feel that spiritual sense. And I totally love what you're saying, Rohit. It's I'm right on with that as well. When it comes to that love between two people and keeping it non-judgmental, oh my gosh, what a beautiful thing that you can do together and experience this lifetime with just true learning, and you call it curiosity, right, Martin?
Yeah.
But that learning it brings us closer to love, right? When you allow yourself to just be in a space of, well, let me be curious again, let me learn, what is this person actually experiencing? I'll look through their eyes. And it helps to bring down the judgments. And I was trained to be judgmental, I feel like, from my parents, not my dad, but my mother for sure. She was that was her nature, and very defensive. And I swear, I learned to argue like, woo, I'm a good arguer.
You're good at it.
And as an adult, I don't want to be like that, right? So I've worked very hard on myself to learn to be a better communicator. But it's funny, just the other day I was talking to my 16-year-old son, And we were like a tennis match going back and forth. And it was all in the name of love. You know, but my husband was standing there and he was like, okay, Kenya, halt right on that right now. And we weren't arguing. I mean, it wasn't a heated kind of debate or anything like that. But even the fact that we were going back and forth like that, my husband was like, okay, time out. You guys aren't getting anywhere with this conversation. So I think it's just so important that you use your conscious reasoning mind for what it's supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
It has its purpose, and it is always there for our good. Right? Isn't that inherently true, that we are these perfectly imperfect beings and our reasoning mind has a purpose, but let's not use it for the wrong purpose.
And the wrong purpose is?
Right.
The judgment, the blaming, the complaining, I think, right?
That would be me being judgmental of what the wrong purpose is.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
Well, certainly it's the one that pulls you away from love, right? It doesn't pull you much into love. Yeah. Meshell, what are your thoughts about
I'm thinking about something that I had mentioned before, and it really feels like the same thing. There really is. It's sometimes hard to separate these conversations: self-love, love of friends and family, love of romantic partner. It really is all woven from the same essential cloth. So
exactly.
And so I am reminded of the really highest ideal that I currently have for all my relationships, including a romantic partnership, is an evolutionary ally. And the reason why I bring that back up again is because then if I am in a relationship with somebody else who wants an evolutionary ally, and the closer my relationship is, the more time we spend together, the more stuff that comes up, the more stuff I have to exercise inside myself, reveal about myself, see about myself. And if we're both standing in this place of, I want to help you to evolve and self-realize and self-actualize and ditto back, then every interaction is an opportunity. Every breakdown is an opportunity. Every argument is an opportunity. Every, obsession is an opportunity. It's like all an opportunity for me to more fully realize myself. And, my ideal is a partnership where I can keep revealing myself and revealing myself and revealing myself in all of my mess and all of my madness and all of my confusion and all of my misunderstandings, and, just keep confessing what's true for me in a relationship that can stand there and say, I see that's true for you. Yeah. I just see that's true for you. And I'm with you. And let's keep unpacking, unfurling the sail.
Yeah. So awesome. Thank you. I would say, my response to, can an agnostic find love if they don't believe in God? I think the first thing is that if you are actually even curious about that conversation or curious about that question, the answer would be yes, regardless, because you're at least in the conversation of love. I'd say that my experience of it is like, with regard to like God and love and having those things like be together, like they are absolutely together. I don't know that I completely 100% believe that they are together. I have experiences of love and amazing things happen. I find that when I'm humble, when I'm like having a degree of humility to me, then I kind of go, I find that in that humility for me, in that vulnerability, then I actually am willing to, I'm actually, I don't even willing, I actually do kind of look up and just kind of go, thank you. Like whoever I'm saying thank you to, and I look at my children and it's like, God, thanks, and even the relationship that I have right now with Yvette, it's, going through what we're going through. I'm still grateful. I'm still grateful that we don't just sit around and just yell at each other and throw pots and pans, so it's just like, there's love there. I don't feel it the way, I don't have the flow of love. I definitely have a lot of calcium in the pipes. But it's like, but I don't know that that's like, that's dependent on God. Like, I don't, go ahead.
Martin, I really think that love has nothing to do with theism or atheism. I know lots of theists who I would say don't know a thing about love. They have religion, they have all that. Their book might even say to them that they're supposed to love God and they're supposed to love each other, but they don't know a damn thing about love, because all they know is to love the people who think the way they think. But that's
Which
not
is
what
this
it's
right
saying.
here, which is this was like
Yeah,
Veronica said, yes, an agnostic can find love, just maybe not with a highly religious person. So
yeah,
that's not love. That becomes then judgment and that becomes criticism, right?
exactly.
You don't love, you don't think the way I think.
You don't believe what I believe, therefore, how can I love you? No, the question is when you can rise beyond your beliefs, because belief is your limitation, belief is your limiting factor. To rise beyond belief, to be in a state of wonder, to be in a state of disbelief, right? That's the state of openness. That's where love comes about.
I
Love
just
doesn't
got
come about
chills.
by,
You just got chills. What
I
happened?
just got chills on that one.
Say what?
You got to put that on the screen.
Say that again. So say what you got chills for.
Belief is your limiting factor. And then what did you say right after that, Rohit?
to be in a state of disbelief, to be in a state of awe and wonder. That's the state that invites love into you. So think about it like this, that when you are, you look at this amazing tree or this flower or this meal or this person, and you're in this fascination for this, right? What is this? Oh, this is so incredible. This is so beautiful. This is so, where you see that and there is awe and there is wonder. It has nothing to do with your religion or your belief. It is just your state of fascination and awe that causes you to open up to this and to experience the wonder and magic of what is here in front of you.
Mhm.
Therein lies love, and therein lies the opening of the heart. Therein lies the awakening to God. It has nothing to do with your belief system.
And as you just
Belief does not take you to God.
I think
But I appreciate the courage that it takes to say something and to say what your belief is. Like Veronica's saying, this is yes, an agnostic can find love, just maybe not with a highly religious person. At least she's saying what's there for her. Like, it's like, this is how it occurs for me. And then from that point on, you could start to explore and see if there's any truth to that, or if it's just an opinion. But you're not going to know if it's an opinion. If you're not going to know if it's opinion if you don't say it, if you don't get it out. So thank you, Veronica, for that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the greatest place where love thrives is when you stop believing your own mind. You stop believing the stuff it's making up about you or about the other person. Stop believing what this thing is telling you and just open your heart up to them, which means take a breath, come into your body and connect with them through that body, through that energy, through your eyes, through your senses. Hear them, touch them, feel them, sense them. Stay out of here. This is the danger zone. This part, which is involved with your belief, and this is the part that will keep you away. This will kill love. This is the love killer right here. This is the love killer.
Hey, you know that thing that's right behind that cute face of yours? It's the love killer.
When you think you're right, you're destroying love. When you think you're wrong, the other person is wrong, you're destroying love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You go beyond right and wrong, and you will find love.
That's just, yeah, you're right. Because when you judge, when you blame, when you're complaining, when you think you're right, we're creating a disconnection. We're separating ourselves from somebody.
Dissonance.
Like, I'm right, and it's you don't say I'm right if there's no contrast to it. You only say it in contrast to somebody wrong. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing to say. You did it, and the thing about language is that it's so it's that we just have it. We have it, and it has us. And how it has us is it has us not. We just use it, and I don't know that we are so responsible for how it shows up.
Can you notice what Deanne just did right now?
She got her little doggy.
She picked up her dog.
Yeah.
Do you notice how loving she's being with her dog and the way her dog is looking at her? That's love.
Yeah.
Do you know why? Because that dog doesn't have language. It is language that causes us to frame things. That is the way when Brent said the mind, that causes us to frame things in polarities, good and bad, right and wrong, all of that. Those polarities create dissonance. What we need is resonance. And resonance is caused by getting out of your head and into your body. So that's what she just did right now. There was the answer is right there in front of us. That's what opens the heart.
Nacho opens the heart.
Nacho.
Nacho.
I love it. So it's to me, it would be then a dance, because it would be a dance between the both of them, how our thoughts show up and how our heart expresses itself.
It is a dance. I think Deanne put it very beautifully. She said that the mind has its purpose and you should use it for what it was meant for, which is, the mechanical stuff, the stuff about how to get from point A to point B, how to do your taxes, how to deal with the logistics of the world. Absolutely phenomenal computer for that purpose. But it's, imagine if I would ask Siri how I should live my love life, how I should fall in love, who should I fall in love with? I mean, we ask her those kind of questions, but we just laugh at the answers. But imagine if that's how you were to run your love life, by asking Siri stuff. That's what we're doing here. This is our Siri, and we're asking it questions about love and what's right, and we're determining the quality of our love based on this. It's messed up.
Yeah, what I'm present to is how frustrating it is, like how frustrated I am in the trying to express it and understand it and feel it. It's just like, Lord have mercy,
Really complex. But what I'm reminded of as we are having this conversation is, I imagine we have all landed more than once, probably hundreds of times, into the space that you're describing, where I can feel my judgments melt and I can feel my heart open and I can just feel the endless flow that you speak of, just like those magical times when you're just like, everything is right. It's not because the circumstances are perfect. It's just, I just feel so open and free and connected and inhibited, that there's, and I don't feel the expectations and I don't feel the rules and I'm not hounded by the voices. I've had lots of wonderful experiences. And I really do believe that if we can experience anything like that once, we know how to experience it. We know it and we can grow it. If we know it once, I truly believe that we can grow it. We can make it expand.
Let me give one pro tip on this, because what you just said, Meshell, that's the key. We've all been there. And the key is this: drop your armor, drop your weapons, drop your sense of right and wrong, and whatever that other person's opinion is, whatever they're thinking at that moment, whatever's upsetting them, step into their world and just see it from their perspective, and you will create resonance. Resonance means like you think of two sticks like that, you have this musical thing where you hit it, they're vibrating at the same frequency. Just vibrate at the frequency of that person's thought, idea, feeling, putting yours aside, whatever you'd thought. And as you vibrate with their frequency, you'll find exactly the magic of what you talked about, Meshell. That will start to happen. You will start to just, feel that love flowing with each other. Now, we can also go further on how do you magnify that. But let's start with this point. This is where you come.
So this is going to be a little sticky. I love what you're saying. And so where the rubber meets the road, I was just thinking a few minutes before we got started, I was listening to my neighbor helping his little girl learn how to ride a bike. I'm not making this up. That was just happening. Now, they've all been in quarantine. I think they are like, the kids are here every other weekend, that kind of thing, because there's a mother somewhere else. So it's not like they're completely overwhelmed with kids being there all the time, but he was being so hard on that little girl. Like, she kept saying, brake, turn the pedals backwards. You have to go backward to hit the brakes. Backwards. Aren't you listening to me? Look at my lips. Watch my, he was so frustrated with her. And I'm thinking, I had this thought, I am so glad that is not my partner. Because that I would lose it. I would just lose it, because this is where my feelings are so strong about what's appropriate to foster this child. And I hear you say that, and I immediately try and put myself into his shoes. And I can imagine, I mean, he wants his kid to get it. You know, he's like, you're not getting off this bike until you get this right. You're not going to leave this bike. You're not going to stop. It was like a freaking nightmare listening to this going on the street. And if I had to put myself into his shoes in a loving way, that would have been like monumentally challenging. So talk me through that piece.
So let's say I am him.
Yeah.
And you come there as my partner and you see me doing this thing to our kid.
Right.
All right. If I was an unconscious human being in the normal scope of things, I would lash back at you. You don't know what you're talking about. And I would defend my position of why I was right. And you would defend your position. And we'd have this huge, ever escalating fight. We would probably not talk all through the night. We wouldn't want to have dinner together. And the whole
story.
One
or both of us would be thinking we married the wrong person.
Exactly. How could I ever have married such a person?
Right,
what was I thinking? How did I
married Mike?
But let's say if I was a self-aware person and I understood these ideas, then I would take, in that moment, I got heated up in trying to tell the daughter, some pattern of mine came out where I thought this is the way you get things done. All right. Because my dad did it to me, or whatever the reason might be. That's my programming. I'm now passing it on to my child. And I had never in my life dreamt I was doing something wrong. I was like, this is how you do it. This is how it was done to me. This is how I'm doing it, right? To my daughter. Now you come along as my partner and you tell me, what the hell are you doing? This is going to really mess her up. I could at that moment.
Well, let's see what she would tell you. I want to see it played out. What would you say to him, Meshell?
All right, let's go.
Like, not you knowing what she's going to say.
Role play.
Honey, can I have a minute? Just a minute. Can I talk to you for a minute?
I'm busy here. Look, she's going to fall off the bike if I do anything here. I talk to you, and this is not the time. Later, okay? Later.
And let's just pull aside for a second. I want to talk to you.
So I'll switch from the unconscious way now, and now I'll let me deal with it a different way. Because we know that.
I don't want to make you look bad in front of the kids. I don't want to undermine you in front of the kids. So I really would want to pull you away and have a conversation.
So I'm going to switch now, and I'm going to say, okay, what is it you're trying to say? Let's take a break, kids. I need a minute with your mom.
How is this for you right now?
I'm doing
the experience of your little girl learning how to ride a bike. How is this right now? Like, how do you feel right now? Could you just check inside and see how you feel?
I feel irritated, frustrated, angry because I want her to get it. I'm so concerned. I want her to learn. I mean, she's got to get it.
Yeah. Does it seem like it's working?
Well, it will. Eventually, I learned how to ride a bike, so she'll learn as well.
How do you think she's feeling right now? Like, look at her.
She looks scared. Yeah, that's true. So you're saying I'm making her scared?
Well, she's not enjoying the experience of learning how to ride the bike. That's for sure.
She's supposed to enjoy the experience? I never thought about that.
Wouldn't it be wonderful to have a memory of the two of you learning like a happy memory of this time when she's learning how to ride the bike? Wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah, but this is...
How do we move it in that direction?
I have no idea. I'm clueless here. What would you do?
Well, I think we just have a big opening right there. It's like, that's the crack. Right? Thank you. Appreciate your being willing to go there. It wasn't well rehearsed on my part, but I appreciate your...
I think that's the beauty of this. That's the beauty of the inquiry and creating a safe space and being responsible for how somebody is experiencing and be able to focus somebody on what's important without judgment or blame and in a very kind way of doing that.
Rohit said something that really flipped me in the right direction too, is because where I was coming from as the neighbor, of course, judging this thing outside, is I was really, my judgment was escalating. I was just like, this is just so wrong that he's, he's ruining this opportunity for the two of them. And he's like, he's just like not noticing. And I was really hating on him, you know?
Yeah.
But as soon as you asked me to play role play talking to my partner, I would have to access my love of him.
Well, this is, so I'm going to challenge you on that.
I can't.
It's a choice. What you're doing is you're saying have to.
Yeah, no,
that's a choice.
Any positive outcome.
Yeah.
I need to go down and access my love of this man. And there's 1,000 things that I love about him, or I would have never married him.
Yeah.
There's 1,000 things that I believe in him. And, you know, so that's the place that is best for me to be pulling from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the muscles. Those are the muscles that we can learn from. Like, those are the muscles we want to build, and we learn and we build from those things, as well as, you know, Rohit, the receiver, being able to, you know, find himself in a good space. You could see there was a moment of that I would call consideration, where you said, well, what do you think her experience is? And kind of like the first thing, what does it matter? She's going to learn, you know? And then the second one is like, you ask the question a different way. And then you could just see, to me, I was like present that he's like now moved by the love of his daughter.
Yeah, it seemed like that. Yeah.
What was your experience of, you know, I know we were role playing, but what was your experience in that moment, in those moments?
She got me out of my head.
But
and
what
she
was your
got me into
experience?
the daughter's head. And she got me thinking, what kind of memory would you like to leave her with around this moment that you spent with her? And now I was out of my head and in my daughter's head, and the experience she was going to have. And suddenly I dropped everything that I was thinking should be done, because that's how I grew up. And I was realizing she's going to have a terrible memory. And it made me remember that that's the memory I have of my dad. And that's what I'm now giving to her. And it's suddenly all just kind of like, you know, all snapped together.
Yeah.
It's beautiful the way she inquired, that curiosity that she brought up.
I'm going to ask Meshell then real quick. When you were asking that question, what was your authentic curiosity? Like, where were you coming from?
I really wanted him to see what was going on for her. I mean, I could see what was going on for that little girl. She was traumatized by the experience. It was horrible for her.
Yeah, I can get that. So
she was trying to hold back crying, and then of course she started to cry, and then he said, "Don't cry." It was that scene, you know, the kind of scene that you just think you never really see in a real person anymore. Stop crying, stop crying. It was like, you just made her cry. Oh my gosh. So it was really just feeling her, so strongly feeling her, and that these are where the traumas get laid down. You know, like, that's the stuff I work with in my coaching partnerships. I deal with these patterns that form at these critical ages, 4, 5, 6, 7. You know, something goes down and the pattern is set, and then we spend the rest of our adult life trying to break free of it, so we can really be at choice. You know, so that's why I'm like, these things are so they're so compelling, like to let go of how strongly I believe about that, to go into how he might believe about it. But the way you said, you know, if he is willing to see that he could be operating from a pattern, that it isn't, that he has a higher self, that he could be making a higher choice, and that for sure he would want to make a higher choice if somebody who loved him could help him see the possibility of that, right?
But so you see,
who you were relating to is you were relating to somebody that who you know that person to be is a person that authentically wants to make a loving choice, that their intention is to make a loving choice, not coming from a, you know, this guy's, you know, my husband's being a jerk. It's a different place.
Definitely a different place. And I really found myself immediately redirected there because of where Rohit, you know, the foundation that he set, and I got out of my head about this guy, who is a nice guy. I really like him. He's a good neighbor. I love him. So it's the only thing I've ever seen that I've ever judged him negatively for, you know, so it's not a pattern, but I was really feeling so protective and judging him harshly. So I had to come out of that to have that conversation.
Yeah, no, it happens. Yeah. Wonderful. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is loving soulfully right there.
Right there is a perfect example of how you step out of your head and into your heart.
Yeah.
Loving soulfully is that journey from here to here.
Yeah.
Right?
Bravo.
Yeah. Deanna.
There's so much to say about this stuff. I've been married for 22 years, and it is a constant practice of all that you're saying, Rohit. And it's interesting how each, as you called them, the phases, has brought on a new opportunity to learn about each other, and for us to learn how to be better at together. And it does require so much of us each growing separately. And I think that, you know, who you choose to marry is such a huge decision. And I didn't think of it as that big of a decision when I actually made the decision 22 years ago.
He's just cute, huh?
But it's such a big decision because I want to stay married, and my parents were divorced, and I made a commitment to myself to just know that my partner is going through his own stuff, and that I'm going through my own stuff, and to have that level of compassion for each other's journey, and to make a decision that you're not going to leave them high and dry in the midst of their own vulnerability or in the midst of their own pain. And truly to be a friend, just not just a lover, but a friend to that person. And it's challenging, it's really because pain is involved. So that pain occurs, and we want to, I mean, even getting defensive of your pain, but I feel more pain than you do, right? But so coming back, I mean, I cherish that I have been in this world of love, hypnotherapy, and coaching, and spirituality. I mean, all of it. I'm so absolutely thankful to be in that space so that I could even be married 22 years. Because without that, there's no way I would still be in this relationship. So what a beautiful thing to be able to see in each other's flaws and know that that's not it though, right? They might have that flaw, but there's still more on the other side of that. And sure, loving them anyways, but also knowing that they're evolving. And so let's not stop there and just like, oh my gosh, to end the relationship based on that flaw would be such a disservice to the relationship.
But so many people do exactly that. They don't stick it out the way you have done. And I really applaud the fact that you have done that. I'm not saying everybody can or everybody should, but I applaud that you've been able to look at it that way and make that work for you. I wrote down something here that I had written way back. I think that relationships have a certain purpose to help us cultivate certain qualities that are actually soulful qualities. As I was saying earlier, they're not mental qualities. They'll really have a tough time if you try to do it from your mind. They're soulful qualities. And these are the qualities of unconditional love, compassion, gentleness, patience, forgiveness, innocence, faith and trust, commitment, surrender, and fearlessness. I wrote it down as the alternate 10 commandments.
The alternate.
We need to have another kind of 10 commandments. Thou shalt cultivate. And I would say, so these are some of the objectives of loving soulfully. Objectives. I'm not saying these are the muscles you are cultivating. These are the muscles you are developing. If you can look at it that way and keep that in mind, that you're not there. You're not never going to perfectly be there, but you are trying to reach into your heart and find that space of you that knows how to do this, and now train that mind and ego of yours. Hey, calm down. We're going to practice some compassion here. We're going to practice some gentleness out here. Be the loving guide to that ego of yours. You can't cut it out. You can't get rid of it. It's always going to be there. So be the loving guide for your ego, your egoic mind, and help it like an elder brother or sister, like helping the younger one to be able to develop themselves further.
You know, if there's anything to care for in this world, it's what goes on with you. Like, really. I mean, like, we could say, oh, I'm here to care for my kids and all that, and we'll do those things. When you really can care about yourself, you're more open to be able to do that, the other caring, more effectively.
Mm.
I appreciate you guys. It's a great conversation. We're going to definitely have more of these.
I took 2 pages of notes.
Thanks for inviting me again for a delicious conversation and discovery.
Yeah. Thank you guys for being so vulnerable and be willing to play. It's a fun night.
I think Rohit has given us some beautiful things to pause on. You know, when we're in the moment, remember that. Remember that some of those, be in a state of disbelief.
Yeah. I can also tell you this, that the design of our humanity is such that these two pieces need to coexist. There's a push and pull between the egoic part of us that is by nature flawed and tends to be conditional and tends to be judgmental, and the other part of us that is not. By the push and pull between these things, something happens that makes us more powerful and stronger from within. It's almost like going to a gym. Life is like going to a gym where you're developing the muscles by this push and pull. You pick up a weight, something pulls down, you pull up. Right? So the same thing is happening between the push and pull between these two natures of yours, the egoic nature and the soulful nature. When you start to engage them both very consciously, you're going to find your own development becomes a lot faster. I've seen it happen to me. I have been at the other end of being judgmental, being the guy that Meshell talked about. I've been there. Okay? And I've been to the place where that is no longer a possibility. So I know that it is possible to overcome many of our weaknesses and imperfections, and we'll still never get over them. I might still get triggered to something, and I might still find some old pattern come up. It's never going to be perfect. I can tell you that. Anyone thinks I'm perfect, they got it wrong. I fail miserably.
Got some great ideas, and if we can have some of those and we can give those ideas to people and it can make a difference, that's not a bad day.
Well said, Martin.
You know, Deanna, tell us a little about your Mind Body Fit Club before we get out of here.
Oh my gosh, talk about love. I have never felt so much love. Amazing. Mind Body Fit Club is, I'm going to tell you exactly what they just said. I literally got off a meeting and one of the ladies in the club said, "We lost more than weight. We lost our bullshit baggage."
I love it.
Nice.
That was her testimonial. And I said, wait, I got to write that down. That's so good. But that is truly what Mind Body Fit Club is about is, yes, I help women lose weight, but it's about helping them to let go of all that stuff that is the weight of their world. And these women across the country have taught me so much about unconditional love and learning to take that pause and observance instead of judging and just really feeling them, hearing them, feeling them, listening. There's been such amazing transformations because it can't just be something. And even though I call it mind body, totally it's about heart. So isn't that funny that I left that word out?
You should put it on the side with a little
right.
Yeah, it's totally about heart. And you really can't even maintain your weight until you get to a place of heart, because you've got to actually care about yourself to make those decisions. You know, you've got to be able to get to a place of your own self-love to have the discipline to make those decisions for yourself. And so Mind Body Fit Club is a whole process that I take women through and to go deep within themselves and to take that exploration. Yes, we do some calorie counting, but not really calorie, but nutrition. And yes, we exercise, but really it's about looking at themselves in ways they hadn't allowed themselves to before. So thank you for letting me share. I totally love those women. And I would not be the same person without having had their love in my life.
That's
And
awesome. I'm curious about how you guys do it. Is it like a group conversation, or so it's a group of people that are coming together, and you're creating a conversation, and you're talking and sharing and building.
So I started it in 2010, and we started with people in person, and it was originally 12 people in person that we would get together. We got together for 12 weeks, and I have a curriculum, if you will. Really what it is they're deep exploratory questions. That's really what the curriculum is based on. And I always want to guide them to finding their own principles to live by. So not my guru blueprint of how to maintain your weight, but for them to develop their own connection to themselves and their own principles of why they care enough about themselves to take care of themselves. And each person really through that finds that by asking that question, all of the other stuff, all the resistance starts to pop up, and then we deal with it. And the beauty of the group is that we have a total culture in the group, that there is we call it non-judgmental, and you can do that to a point, right?
Yep.
But to where we uphold one another with love. And we listen, and sometimes we give feedback, and sometimes it's not about fixing your feedback. Sometimes it's just about holding space, and it's about truly seeing each other beyond the weight and seeing each other's spirit. And because of that, there's this amazing connection that happens, and women from all over the country have now become friends based on that connection.
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
That's great. That's cool. And you meet like once a week or something, or twice a week?
Yeah, so we do. We meet once a week. I actually had this last meeting before I got on with you guys because I said, okay, you guys, I'm up in my commitment to you all. And I want to know what you want, because I want to meet even more. If you need that even more touch point and group coaching where you can share with, okay, what did I eat? Why did I make that choice? What was I emotionally feeling at the moment that made me make that choice? How did I overcome it? Like, all of that magic really helps one another. And as much as, even though that I'm the lead and I'm the coach, they really do that synchronicity that happens together is so powerful. And they end up just really finding a bravery inside themselves to be able to do things that they couldn't do before on their own.
That's awesome. Cool. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Meshell, what do you got? What are you up to, girl?
That is just so comprehensive, Deanna. I love the approach you're taking. That just sounds so honestly comprehensive. Like,
it
is. Imagine success coming from how you're doing that.
Yeah.
You're not just looking at it as a weight problem, because can't be extracted like that. So
it's never about the weight. It's
right?
Not about the food, and it's not about the weight.
Yeah.
You gotta dig underneath that.
Yeah. Sure. So great. So, today was a good day for me to turn to too. I love looking at like the immediate reflection of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And today I had a check-in coaching call with somebody that I've been in a coaching partnership with for, I don't know, it's probably about 7, 8, 9 months now. And we've done a lot of work together, and we took a little break, and she came back today, and, we got to revisit some of the issues. We did some deep work on her pattern stuff related to her mother, related to her father, where some of those things are entrenched that she keeps running into, that has her kind of cinched up and blocked right about there. And we did a good job of like turning the soil. And then tomorrow we're going to go into a breathwork session, which is one of my favorite tools to work with these days, because like today was more of a rational conversation. It's words, it's language, it's the mind, it's the story, it's all that kind of stuff. And it was just enough, for us to turn the soil. But tomorrow she'll lay down, she'll breathe. And, the kind of breath that we deploy for nearly 45 minutes really does create an altered state. altered enough that she can really access her intuition. She can access universal intelligence. She can access holism, a holistic understanding of herself. And from there, I think she's going to be much further along about where her course goes next to correct, what she's experiencing. So that's a day or two in the life of Meshell Zwecker, Firestarter coach, Firestarter movement.
Wow. It seems like what a great experience you're giving people.
Oh gosh, I feel like Deanna does. It's like deeply, soulfully satisfying. I think about a day like today and cap this. It's like, what a day, to be in such a vital, relevant conversation, I don't think I spent a minute just blah, blah, blah today. It was all relevant, all meaningful, not intense, not serious. I had a lot of silly I felt kind of silly all day today, but so there was plenty of that too. But to get down in it, where it matters and something could jiggle loose and some ease could float to the surface and increased happiness and contentment.
Yeah.
Contentment is my new favorite word. It's not like joy. It's contentment. Like I'm satisfied.
Great place to be.
Yeah.
And you, when you do work, you do it. Is all your work you do one-on-one, or do you have group work as well?
No, I mean, the work that I did today with my coaching client, that's a one-on-one relationship. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to do a group coach. I'm going to do a group breathwork session. So there could be 3, there could be 8 people that show up for the group breathwork session. The one-on-one stuff is really where the work can happen, because not only can we do like what we did today to really identify all the pieces, have the more altered state through the breath, and then we're going to spend an hour really unpacking that all.
Wow.
So by the time we hit this 4 o'clock tomorrow, I think she's going to be really clear about who she is and what really matters, and the whole mental confusion, because it's mental confusion. It's a story about her father and a story about her mother, and the way these two things pull her, and where is she inside her. This time of being isolated like this has caused a lot of people to reevaluate. Those are the conversations I'm primarily having, as something is happening here and I do not want to drift back to where I was. I really need to know what course I'm on going forward. My role as a mother, my role as a community member, my role as a professional. We even talked about, do you really know when enough would be enough money-wise? Because this idea that we have that we just got to keep earning because there'll never be enough money to take care of us when we're old.
Yeah.
Like it's endless. It'd be nice to have a little bit of a sense of what would really be enough. So there's some sense of being able to pull back a little. Most of my clients are my age or older. They're all at least this side of midlife and beyond.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I love the work you do.
Thank
It's
you.
really cool. It's very fascinating.
Thank you.
Rohit, honey, buddy, my friend, what do you got going on? You got so many things going on, man. Dude,
it's a very big uphill task I've chosen to take care of.
Yeah. Go big or go home, as they say, right?
Right? Yeah, exactly. So it's really been, most of the work I do is really teaching people how to love themselves, how to awaken their soul, firstly. That's really the most important part for me. And then from there, how to really stop all this self-judgment and criticism and really learn how to truly, deeply love themselves, because you can't do it while you're judging yourself. So then from there, we talk about relationships, we talk about life, we talk about all that stuff. And really, to me, it's about self-actualization. If you want to put it in one word, then that would be it. Self-actualization or awakening is really the key thing that I work with my clients. And then how that applies into work, how that applies with relationships, how that applies with every aspect of your life. I think we should do something on living soulfully someday, because then I'll have to share some ideas and insights on that.
Absolutely. I think we're going to have us four. We're going to have I think us four are going to have a lot of conversations. So let's keep it going, guys. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys coming.
If anyone wants a free copy of my book, by the way, I'd love to just give them the link. That's the book.
Yes, right here. Juneja.com.
Right. And it's no love. They can also go to lovingsoulfully.com and do it from there. So that's the other option. I've set that up.
Thank you guys for hanging out. I'm just going to go and say a couple final words, and then if you're in the back, you guys are still in the back room, then I'll say goodbye to you in a second.
Okay.
Thank you guys for hanging out. What an amazing conversation. I want to thank Deanna and Rohit and Meshell for hanging out. I think one of the things that is so great about communication is that when we're open to listening, we're open to like working with each other in communication, using curiosity, that what comes about is love, is soulful love, because we're listening curiously, we're absorbing, we're taking in what each other is saying without judgment, without complaints, and without any kind of blame. And I think what we've seen is 4 different versions of Loving Soulfully, but really they all kind of resonate the same. So, let me know what your version of Loving Soulfully is, and we'll see you real soon. We're going to have shows Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 7 o'clock Pacific time, and look forward to seeing you. Thanks for hanging out.